Auckland 100.6 FM. Radio Live with Andrew Patterson.
It's 12 to 4. Well, celebrated physicist Sir Paul Callaghan has ended his experimental intravenous vitamin C treatment for cancer, saying there is absolutely no evidence it worked. He's concerned that alternative medicine advocates are now using his unusual experiment to promote the controversial treatment in a misleading way. Victoria University Professor Shaun, a natural remedies researcher, said he was not surprised the treatment had not worked, though he said, "I really wish it had." Debate about high-dose vitamin C has been raging for 3 decades, and he says it's time proper clinical trials were conducted. This in a week when the latest New Zealand Medical Journal Digest, Drs. Shaun Holt and Sarah Jeffries and health psychologist Andrew Gilby have slammed some of New Zealanders' favourite natural health products as ineffective. And Professor Shaun Holt joins us now. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, good afternoon, Andrew. Thanks for asking me onto the show.
Thanks for joining us. How significant is it that someone like Sir Paul Callaghan has come out with the statement that he has?
Yeah, it's very important because obviously he's such a famous person and a well-respected scientist, New Zealander of the Year. And I was a little concerned around 6 months ago when he announced he was going to try this treatment on himself. I'm all for him doing whatever he wants to do on himself, that's fine. But by announcing it publicly, he was sort of giving it a bit of credibility. So it's good that he has announced, the negative results today. But
in some ways, that has actually perhaps worked to your advantage if clearly people like yourself don't believe in it, because I guess people take views of people with the calibre of Sir Paul Callaghan perhaps seriously than perhaps others.
Yes, so I think the net effect is going to be positive. And, this debate has been raging for 3 decades, as you know. And if you talk to a cancer doctor in New Zealand, they will tell you that they spend most of their time in their clinics now talking about vitamin C megadoses with their patients. And it just doesn't work. We do need to do another trial, but not because we think it works, but just to finally answer the question once and for all.
What is the extent of the research about this? How many trials have been conducted internationally?
I mean, the work was done around 3 decades ago, and so Linus Pauling, who was a double Nobel Prize winner and a physicist, he did a trial and he wrote a book, and he said that vitamin C cures cancer in massive doses. And of course that was taken seriously at the time because he was so famous. But he wasn't a medical researcher, and his research was pretty appalling, to be honest. And so the Mayo Clinic in America, one of the best research centres in the world, they did 3 trials, all totally negative. And that's really the state of play. Now, the advocates are saying that the problem is the doses they used, although they were massive, they weren't really, really massive. And so maybe really massive doses work. So we probably need to do a study of a really massive dose.
What about the possibility that it can work or does work on a very specific type of person? Is that possible?
Look, everything is possible, and, if it did work for certain cancers in certain people, I'd be thrilled and delighted. What a great, cheap treatment for cancer. There's no hint of that at the moment. There's just a few anecdotal reports that people have improved, but that happens with all the time for all sorts of reasons. So, yeah, everything's possible. You never rule anything out, but, the vast body of evidence not only says that it doesn't work, but actually can be harmful as well.
The difficulty, of course, are that people want to believe in something when they are facing a life-threatening illness, and in some ways you can't deny that from them, can you? I mean, but what you're saying is that you need to understand what the evidential research says about these particular treatments.
Exactly. And look, I wouldn't blame any person with cancer or a serious diagnosis wanting to try treatments that they read about, of course. I mean, who wouldn't? But the problem is the vast majority just don't work or can be harmful. There are some treatments out there, and although I'm known for being a skeptic, I've actually written a book about complementary therapies for cancer that can help people. They're not going to cure them, but they can help with symptoms and quality of life. But there are no cures out there, unfortunately, that we know of. A lot of people go to cancer clinics in Mexico and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and often don't come back from there. So, there's no quick fix, unfortunately.
And have you done any research that gives us a sense of kind of what percentage of the population do actually buy into this? Is it fairly widespread, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Around 2/3 of people with cancer will use alternative therapies, and the rest of the people will probably have a good think about it and do some research. The problem is, how do you find good evidence? And unless you're sort of trained in medical research and looking at studies, it's almost impossible. You can look at the media and sometimes a few stories, no offence, a bit sensationalistic. And of course, the internet is the wild west of information, and almost all of it is nonsense. So I think it is really difficult for the public.
And I suppose the other issue, as it always is with medical research, is funding. And traditionally, of course, the drug agencies are the major funders of the research, and one assumes that that there is some issues around finding the funding to conduct this kind of research when you're trying to prove perhaps a false negative.
Yeah, that's right. It'd actually be quite easy research to do. There's no way that a pharmaceutical company would do the research because they can't patent vitamin C, they can't make a profit. But, I can tell you that for less than $1 million, which sounds like a lot of money, but in terms of medical research, it's a drop in the ocean. We could answer this question once and for all. And, there are 100,000 doses given in New Zealand a year, hundreds of doctors around the world using this treatment without evidence. If they got together and organised themselves, they could do a massive trial for virtually no cost. So it can be done.
But at this stage, no plans at the moment for that to be done in the immediate future.
There are a few small studies ongoing in America reporting, I think, in 2 years' time. We'll see what they say. But unfortunately, my advice is, if it was me or my family, I would say, don't go down the route of massive doses of intravenous vitamin C. It doesn't work, and it can harm you as well.
Appreciate you joining us. Thanks for your time today. Speaking there to Professor Shaun Holt, whose article appears in the New Zealand Medical Journal Digest, along with that of colleague Sarah Jeffries and health psychologist Andrew Gilby, slamming some of New Zealand's favourite natural health products as ineffective. And this on the back of the announcement that celebrated physicist Sir Paul Callaghan has ended his experimental intravenous vitamin C treatment for cancer, saying there is absolutely no evidence it worked.